Welcome to the RBC Sunday School Rewind. This is where we review the Sunday school lesson for each week. This week's lesson was Power Without Equal, and our scripture came from the 40th chapter of the book of Isaiah. I was the lesson discussion leader for today's lesson. The lesson names are Perceive the Relationship Between Renewing Our Trust in God While Waiting for God to Act, and Model Trust and Patience in God's Timing. Our key verse is coming from Isaiah 40:29, and it reads, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. One fact that we talked about today in today's lesson was the correlation between the book of Isaiah and the entire Bible. Isaiah has 66 chapters, and the Bible has 66 books. Isaiah's first 39 chapters are similar in theme to the 39 books of the Old Testament. In the first 39 chapters of Isaiah, God is speaking through Isaiah to proclaim his intention to judge the nation, her conquerors, and other Gentile nations that are bordering that area. The last 27 chapters show where God is speaking through Isaiah to comfort and encourage those future exiles and admonish them to return to their God and trust his promises to deliver, renew, and restore them as a nation. And we know that the 27 books of the New Testament focused on the ministry and person of Jesus Christ. You know, one thing I found out in my studies as well is that the book of Isaiah was often quoted in the New Testament. Some of the questions that we talked about today is having the folks to think about a time when they had prayed and waited for God to answer or act. We know that there are times when God is not going to answer your prayer or act on your behalf immediately. And we have to wait and use that P word, patience, but we can't just sit back and patiently wait and do nothing. It has to be an active anticipation, I think is how Pastor said it in Sunday school today, that there has to be, you need to be in action. You need to be doing something in your patient and your waiting phase. You need to have that expectancy, as Pastor mentioned in Sunday school today, during your waiting time. We began this lesson today with a video, and it was just showing a lot of the different natural wonders of the world. We showed the Grand Canyon and Niagara Falls, some sand dunes, the sunrise, the sunset, mountains and hills. And we were playing in the background, our God is an awesome God, because he is awesome and he is powerful. One thing that we talked about today as well was how he doesn't give power to those who feel that they are strong because they are relying on their own strength. But he gives the power to those who are weak and they realize that they need and depend on God. Now let's hear from someone that was in class to give their thoughts about these particular scriptures.
One of the things we talked about, power without equal. The verse in Isaiah 40 had us examining in the call to action almost to look up our eyes and to see what the Lord has created. And so that allowed us to see if we have creation who is at the, the hands of God, how much greater does God is concerned about us and our life? Like there's just more to it. Like, yes, we have a part, but there's more to life than just that. And so we can rise above our problems. We can run on and see what the end is going to be. And eventually on whatever path God has set our feet on, we can walk it out how he has ordained us and commanded us to do. And so when we look at power without equal, we know that God has no rival. He has no equal. And we know that he is just concerned about the birds and the lilies in the field, just as much as about us. And so hope you all enjoy.
We also talked about the importance of not only seeing God in creation, but seeing the awesomeness of God in destruction. Oftentimes we don't know that or realize how tandem the two are. Minister Knox talked about even wildfires, how they create and bring forth new life. Because there's a purification sometimes. Sometimes there's a creative tension, even in destruction, for it creates building blocks for new things to emerge. It's almost kind of like a clenched hand. You can't receive something new until you've let go of some things, and that letting go sometimes is that destructive process that all bring us into the awe and the reverence of God. For even the might of storms and even of wind, they still are witnesses to the power of God.
We concluded our scripture review today with Isaiah 40 and 31, a very familiar passage of scripture. But those who wait on the Lord, there's that wait again, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And we already talked about the fact that we can't just sit by passively as we wait on the Lord, but we know that the Lord will provide that strength to us. In the scripture, we're told that we renew our strength. And that's the strength that we received when we came to the Lord in weakness and with no might. That strength will be renewed as we wait on the Lord. And when we say the word renew here, we're talking about from the basic meaning to change, to put on afresh. Talking about mounting up on wings like eagles. And this is the measure of strength that the Lord gives us, strength to soar above anything else that's going on. I think Pastor mentioned in the sermon today about finding the sacred in your circumstances. And we need to always do that because it's so easy to keep your eye on your circumstances and not keep your eyes on God. But we know that He is unmovable. He never changes. We're also talking about in this scripture that they shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And that talks about the purpose of the strength that the Lord gives us so that we can move forward and progress for Him. And it's not that strength in order to show off, but it's that strength for us to go forward. We had a few takeaways from today's lesson that we wanted everyone to walk away with for this week, and we want to share those with you all as well. We need to rely daily on God's power in order to see us through our weaknesses. We need to gain an appreciation through God's creation for the unlimited power of God. I think we said during our lesson today, take the time and smell the roses. And look at that sunset. Look at that, the cloud formation. Take time to enjoy the creation of God and understand the power of God through that creation. Look for God through the day and, and continue to give God thanks for His goodness and His presence. And then we'll continue to grow spiritually. We need to read our Bibles. We need to meditate on the Word. We need to come to Bible study. We need to come to Sunday school. And that will help us in the midst of those doubts and concerns. So that's our Sunday School Rewind for this week. I thank you all for joining us. We always ask that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can make sure and click that notification bell so that when we post a new video, you'll be one of the first to know. And you're also able to join us in person at 4646 Hardscrabble Road here in Columbia, South Carolina at 11 a.m. for Sunday school. Or you can contact the church and log in by Zoom. That's our Sunday School Rewind for this week. We look forward to seeing you join us again on next week for the Rehoboth Baptist Church Sunday School Rewind.